from you. Hold on.
And perfect. Well, welcome. Happy Friday. So today we have Nutrition 102, and everyone already put their name on a little piece of paper. We're going to have an amazing raffle tonight for a prize of unspeakable value. So get excited. I know.
There's only 3 of us here.
I know, it's going to get cut off. That's all right. I know, but there's only one. There's only one. But again, welcome. We are going to talk briefly about understanding your nutrition prescription that I emailed out to all of you. And then we're going to get into our topic today, which is about how much do I need to eat. So we're going to expand upon what we talked about last week when we learned about the macronutrients and why we need them, etc. So focus on energy, the proteins, carbs, and fats, and then that meal plan process of that CFT plus. And I'll talk a bit about using Carbon, that nutrition coach app that I've been recommending, and then I'll take any questions you have. So we're going to go for 30 minutes, whether I'm done talking or not, and then I'll take any questions that you have, and we'll also utilize the whiteboard here as well. All right. Any questions though before we get started? Are you good? You beyond excited?
Yes.
Yes.
You talk about use Carbon on the first class, Nutrition 101. Did you talk about Carbon then?
Just briefly. We didn't go into a lot of details, and your packet has some information about that as well. So, and what else? I'm going to see if my phone can plug in so you can see my version of it, because we're not going to like huddle around my iPhone. But if I can help put that on the screen, then you can see it better.
Is it like FitnessPal?
No. And I'll explain the difference and as why it's not the same as my FitnessPal. Yeah, and why I recommend it. So yeah, we'll definitely go into that and answer your questions and help you out with that. So I just put the schedule up because I'm a visual person. So we're already in week 2. So you're done with your on-ramp programming, which is awesome. Next week, you're going to start your regular WODs. So we're going to talk today about how much should I eat. Then we're going to get into some vitamins and minerals next week. Talk about metabolic adaptation later on. I think it's a really important topic for women to know about, especially when it comes to weight management. And then we're going to end just giving you information about how to succeed beyond the challenge. Again, I've said it repeatedly. It's not just 6 weeks, it's 6 months, it's 6 years. So how can you sustain all these great changes? So I put this in there so I wouldn't forget, but I didn't forget. So you already took care of it. So we are going to raffle off at the end. I'm going to hold you in suspense. So that's our prize of unspeakable value. But before we get started, I just wanted to help you understand your nutrition prescription, which is, again, what I emailed you individually. So your nutrition prescription is a detailed assessment of the energy that you're recommended, as well as your protein needs, carbohydrates, and fats based upon your preference, for which you prefer to have more or less of. And this is based upon your in-body. So one of the reasons I wanted you to have your in-body is because weight is not everything. Body composition is very important as well. And then from that, we calculate your energy needs from your lean body mass. So that's what's going to dictate your energy needs and how we come to that. So again, I spent a lot of time last week talking about what carbs, fats, and proteins do in our body. So I think that the more you understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, just helps to kind of make everything make sense for you. So on the nutrition prescription, on the top underneath, you'll see BMR. Now, does anyone know what BMR stands for? That's a good guess, though. BMR stands for your basal metabolic rate. So essentially the bare minimum amount of calories you need to sustain all of your body's functions and activities. So that is the lowest calories you should ever be consuming. We don't want to go less than that. And then again, so it's all the energy we need to just sustain our body's functions, but doesn't include physical activity, for example. So the other piece of that includes maintenance calories. So if you wanted to maintain your current weight, that is the calories that would be recommended to be consumed. Now, most people here are interested in weight loss, so I'll talk next on the slides about how we determine that and what would be considered realistic. So you have your body mass, your basal metabolic rate, and then we gave you your maintenance, and then we're going to talk about what it means to be in a caloric deficit. So we'll go over that. And then your protein needs are also estimated based upon your lean body mass. So again, all these numbers that are given to you are specific towards you and your body composition. And then the carbs and the fats, you answered that for me in an email previously. And as far as weight management goes or losing weight, it's one, like higher carbs or lower fat, or higher fat, lower carbs. There's not one or the other preferred over that. It's really making sure that you're meeting that calorie target and getting the protein, and then the rest really doesn't matter. So again, the most important thing for a deficit diet regimen is making sure that we are again staying in that calorie range, meeting our protein, and again, those carbs and the fats, whatever we can adhere to and is realistic and sustainable for us. So per the research, it really doesn't matter. So that's why it's whatever is makes most sense for you. I don't really recommend doing like a 70-30 split on either end, because that can be really low fat or really low carbs. So I do recommend choosing 60-40, 50-50, or 40-60, and that'll keep you in a pretty good range. So we talk about weight loss. Now we kind of know where we're at if we wanted to maintain our current weight, and then if we wanted to transition into weight loss, recommended is about 0.4 to 0.8% per week. So obviously percents are not numbers, so it'll be tailored to you based upon your goal. We do not recommend any higher than 1% weight loss of your current body weight per week. It's just too much. It's too drastic. Your body doesn't like it. It's going to freak out. And this is also to help preserve your metabolism. So we'll get into more about what metabolic adaptation is in a few weeks. But when we talk about being in a deficit, we want to make sure that we're eating up to that number and not skipping out. Again, we always want to eat to your highest energy level. More is not more in nutrition, and less is not more. So if you have a weight loss goal, you're like, whoa, if I want to lose more weight, let's just eat less, but that does not ever end up very good. It's not very sustainable, it's not realistic, and your body is going to resist that as much as possible. So when you are calculated for your deficit calories that are recommended to help you go at a gradual weight loss, that would be at a good balance. And with anything in nutrition, you want that balance. You want your balance of those macronutrients, of your vitamins and minerals, and same thing with your energy level, because again, too much can lead to weight gain, but not enough is just as detrimental to our health. Regardless of what trajectory we go, if it's 0.4 or 0.8% in that range, and I do the math, don't worry, that's why I'm here, but your fat loss is going to be gradual. So again, we have 6 weeks, you're gonna have your in-body to start, and then at the end, so you can kind of see body composition changes then. But for most of us, for our goals, we're probably gonna achieve our fat loss goals beyond the duration of the challenge. Does that make sense? So it's gonna be, again, beyond those 6 weeks. So again, your ultimate goal might not be met during the 6 weeks, but maybe you decide, I want to do a short-term goal, I'd like to reach this, or just drop 1%, we'll work towards that, and then keep reassessing and keep going on your journey. Obviously, if you have an aggressive goal, if you personally want to lose more weight, more fat mass, it's going to take longer, just naturally. But if you have a modest goal, usually it will take less time. So also part of my job is to make sure that I'm helping you set realistic goals, because I want you to achieve them. I don't want to set you up for failure. So that is what I'll work with you as well in doing all those numbers and making sure that you're at a good range and we're eating appropriately and enough. Sometimes when people try to lose weight, they struggle because they're just not eating enough, and it seems kind of counterintuitive, if you will. You just eat less, but then again, your body goes in that defense mechanism. So how much do I need? Again, we talked about energy, and this is based upon your lean body mass from your in-body results, which is one of the many reasons we wanted you to do it. And then your protein is based upon your lean body mass and your nutritional goal. So your protein needs are going to be higher in a calorie deficit, and they're going to be lower if you're just trying to maintain your weight, for example, or keep it where it is. And again, carbs and fat, it doesn't matter. It's whatever kinds of foods that you prefer and enjoy regularly. And again, whatever fits your remaining calorie allotment is how we come to recommend that. So when we go to recap, so we're going to work over the next week or so, checking in with you and via email about what your goal will be. So based upon how aggressive you want to be, so if you want to start really low and gradual at like that 0.4%, I will tell you then how long it would take to reach your particular goal. So we can also give you a realistic time frame to know, okay, if this is what I want to do, this is how long it's going to take me, which is very valuable to know what your end game is going to be and the time commitment required to get there. So again, once we have that plan for you, again, I can do that and you can use a food tracker, or again, we can work with that carbon app like I talked about, and we'll go over towards the end. But just to recap, I had some questions about building that healthy meal plan, again, using that CFT plus model. So do you remember what that is? It's also listed. It's carbs, it's fats, it's fiber, and it's protein. So we want carbs, fats, fiber, and protein at our meals. Because that's going to satiate us. That's going to help us meet our macro targets. That's going to help us to have nice wholesome foods and also meet the vitamin and mineral needs of our body. So just like we come to CrossFit Full Potential, again, it's a play on words, but just helping you to easily remember. So when you're thinking about what should I eat for breakfast? What should I eat for lunch? What should I eat for dinner? Think about this. The other thing I like to recommend too, and I'm sure you've seen this before, we don't have a food guide pyramid anymore, but we have the plate. So if we are using the same concept, you have your, well, I guess it's kind of more in thirds, but I'm doing the other one. But so we have our CFP plus. So your carbs can be equal to the protein here. So let me just do a different line. So depending upon how your day looks, you kind of have this peace sign. So your carbs, your fat, and your protein. So that's how you distribute it. So when we talk about the fiber, where would the fiber fall in? Yes, exactly. So fiber comes from carbohydrates. So this is where you get your F as well. And again, that plus just has to do with that highest quality version of that food. So you want that diversity at your plate. And I'll just write fiber here so it doesn't get confusing. So you want, again, all those nutrients because it helps with absorption. And again, making sure you're getting all the nutrients you need in that plan. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's equally distributed?
Just in this picture, yes, but the fats are, this can be not per se tricky, but it depends on the foods you're choosing.
Okay.
So we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like.
Okay.
So again, this is not per se an even distribution, but again, just a visual to keep it all in there and just pointing out that fiber is going to come from carbohydrates.
So if I translate it into a plate of food, would I have like a third carbo, fiber, a third protein, and a third fat, more or less, or depending on the kind of protein?
It depends on your personal goals. Okay. So if you're choosing a higher fat diet pattern, then this F is going to be bigger than someone who's choosing more carbohydrates.
But my plate should mirror that graphic.
More or less. Your carbs and your protein will be more equivalent, and the fat will probably be a little bit narrower. Remember, fat is more calorically dense, so gram for gram, you're just going to need less volume of that fat.
I'm just trying, like in the past, I've tried like half of my plate would be vegetables, a third, a quarter would be protein, and another quarter would be starch kind of thing. So this is a little bit different.
Yes, so in that case, the starch and the vegetables would be grouped together because they're all carbohydrate containing. Yeah. I know a lot of diet plans like Weight Watchers, for example, they have fruits and vegetables as free. Yeah. They're not technically free, they do contain it, but their perspective and why they promote that is because they want more people to eat fruits and vegetables. So they're not counting it in their points, and they just adjust it with the rest of the food in that particular plan. So again, also too, if there's another approach though that you like and it works best for you, then ignore this.
Well, nothing's working, so.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Let me try this.
Yeah, so again, fat usually, when we're recommending it from like a whole food source, usually is like at a teaspoon amount. Or depending upon the protein you're choosing, the fat might be already with the protein. So So it depends if you're choosing a lean meat or a higher fat meat, then you won't per se be adding that fat if it doesn't meet your goals, for example. If it, again, it's already like a high fat protein option. Absolutely.
Okay. I know you wanted us to save it to the end,
Oh,
but
that's
it's like, okay. I don't know if you ladies, like, since I started CrossFit, I want to have so much more starches. And, you know, it's like, what is happening here? Because I don't, I mean, I'm trying to stay away from them, but it's like, I can't get enough, you know, like, so is there a deficit, or am I missing, am I not eating enough of one kind of food that's making me crave the starches?
Well, what are you doing at CrossFit?
Well,
You're working hard, exactly. And when you're working hard and you're sucking wind, you're using carbohydrates, remember? So it makes complete sense that you'd want to eat more carbohydrates.
I keep this up. I'm not going to be losing weight. I'm going to be gaining weight.
No, you will. So are you tracking anything right now?
Well, I started to track with my fitness, you know, and because my goal, because I really didn't understand your prescription. I thought, well, you know, I can't wait to, you know, for you to explain it. So I thought, well, let me shoot for 100 grams of carbohydrates a day. Well, one day I did really well. I did like 61. And then all the other days have been like in excess of, I know, 300 or more. You know, so the carbohydrates really what I mean, basically I eat pretty well. It's just, then I go beyond. Like the plus is not the protein. It's the plus is the, you know, like for me, it's like I'm just, you know, I'm not satisfied.
Well, I sure wouldn't be satisfied on 61 grams of carbs or 100. So it makes complete sense that you're in the 300s.
Okay.
So on your nutrition prescription, do you remember how much you were recommended?
I don't. Is that in the car?
So that's fine. I have copies too, and I'll give you a handout we can review at the end as well, but that's really low.
So
And that's why you're hungry.
Have you experienced that? Like, you know, like I don't know if I was the only one that was.
Well, again, we all have different experiences,
Yeah.
so maybe
Yeah.
someone has the exact same or the complete opposite. So,
Okay.
yeah. But that's why, again, the other app I'm recommending, I think you might find a lot more success with it because it'll make you hit your targets
Yeah.
versus randomly trying to shoot to something in MyFitnessPal.
So initially, I just thought, well, maybe I'm just not having enough, you know, like enough protein, you know, so that's why I'm compensating with the carbohydrates or enough fat or whatever. But
You're working hard and your body wants carbs because that's what it's burning for fuel. So.
Yeah, but I don't want it to like hit. I mean, like what I'm putting in my body, I want it to fuel it so that I can do a better workout because I know it makes a difference.
Well, 61 is not going to work,
Okay.
and maybe 300 is not going to work. So it's in the middle.
Okay.
We'll get you your number.
Okay.
Don't worry. Yes, but that's a really great question.
Now, I have to say one more
Yeah.
right now. When you talk about energy, are you talking, is that another word or synonym for calories?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So sometimes I just use my words, and I don't appreciate that not everyone knows what they are. So the other thing that makes it confusing is that a calorie is different than a kilocalorie, but we'll just call it a kcal because it's just nice and easy, and that's what you see on food labels. But yes, so a kcal is energy. Sorry if that was confusing, but yes, good question.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if that was something you would have introduced last week, so. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, keep on coming. Sometimes it's more organic to just ask as you're going than remember at the end. So we talk about what different sources or what foods contain these different nutrients. Obviously, all foods have energy, but nothing in here has an A in it, so we don't have an alcohol group. But just remember that alcohol is not calorie-free, so it's almost, again, like we said last week, as nutrient-dense as fat. So alcohol calories can add up, and they also provide energy or calories, just same way that the other macronutrients do. When it comes to protein, to get sources, there are animal and plant sources for this. Animal sources are more rich. They are complete proteins, which means they contain all the essential amino acids. They are more bioavailable, more easily digestible. So it's easier to get protein from an animal source. Not everyone chooses to consume animals. You don't have to. You can also get protein from other food groups, specifically the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates do have protein in them, but to get them, a vegetarian or a vegan is inherently going to have a higher carbohydrate diet to meet their protein needs, for example. Does that make sense? So if someone's choosing a vegan or a vegetarian style diet because that's what they prefer, again, they're just naturally going to be eating more carbohydrates to get up to that protein goal. Or they're going to be having like pea protein or hemp protein or soy protein, whatever, again, it is that they're choosing. And again, carbohydrates, most foods that we eat have carbohydrates. And why? Because we need it to fuel our body's processes, because that is the fuel source that our body prefers to burn and utilize for our activities. And then fats, they don't have carbs, they don't have protein, but quality here is going to matter more than quantity. So again, it doesn't matter how much per se if you're in your allotment, but quality fats would be more those liquid fats. So oils and dressings, so the unsaturated fats. You might have heard of that word before. This would be better or preferred over saturated fats like coconut oil and butter, for example.
Can you substitute, like, for example, and maybe it's more along the vegan line, like walnuts? Is that an appropriate substitute for as a protein, or would you consider that a fat?
Fat. So walnuts are a plant, so they have all of the nutrients in it. Okay. So they have a higher fat content than they do carbs and protein. But again, when you're tracking in the app, it accounts for all of it. Okay. That's why we can't put everything in these rigid boxes, because unfortunately a lot of foods have a lot of macronutrients.
But that's not a source of protein.
I would not consider that a source of protein. Again, unless you're vegan or vegetarian, then it will add up throughout the day. Not just nuts, but seeds as well. So pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, all those also contain protein, but the quantity is so much less than fat. So generally they're considered a fat source. But they're delicious and nutritious, and they should be part of our diet, and importantly, they provide a lot of vitamins and minerals that are really helpful, and they also fill that F thing too, the fiber. So even though they're higher in fat, they have a lot of fiber because they're a seed or a nut, for example. And then again, we already identified this, that fiber is coming from carbs, and specifically from fruits, vegetables, grains, starches, and legumes like lentils and chickpeas and kidney beans. They're also called pulses. So if you ever see the word pulse, that means it's a legume as well. So they're just similar. So again, promoting more of a whole foods based to fill out your needs for the day. Again, if you're choosing animal proteins, obviously if you have chicken breast, it's relatively lean and it predominantly has protein in it. But maybe if you're choosing chicken thighs, for example, well, that has more fat on it. So it's not as lean and therefore more calories. And then if you're choosing chicken thighs, then there's really not per se a need to add more fat to your meal, for example, because it's already in that particular piece of meat. So unfortunately, there's no right or wrong answer. It all depends on the meal and within context. Everything in nutrition matters within context, and everything is highly nuanced. So it's hard to give a black and white answer, which I know a lot of people want, and I wish I could give, but unfortunately I can't. But great questions. So we'll see too if I can plug my phone in, and then I'll show you how it works like in real time. So speaking of which, Carbon. So Carbon is an app that I recommend. It's not free. I don't receive any royalties, unfortunately, but I really like it because it's a nutrition coach. So again, if you download it, you purchase it, you participate in the tracking perspective of it, you can use it indefinitely to coach you along your nutrition goals, and it's going to update automatically. So your nutrition goals, they're not stagnant. Like, you don't need to eat the same amount of calories your whole life. They're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to change as we age or something else is going on, for example. So the nutrition coach part of the app is going to count for all of that and literally do math for you every week. So it's really helpful to do that because it's not just tracking. When you put your food in MyFitnessPal, well, how do you, they don't have your in-body results, or they're not taking into consideration your percent body fat or what the distribution is, or making sure you're getting enough protein, et cetera, et cetera. So you're just tracking your food. But is it telling you to meet this target, be within this range? Are you tracking your weight with it? Is it helping you as you go along? No. Is it great? Does it have a good resource? Definitely. But the other thing with like MyFitnessPal, or I don't know if the other ones do it, but sometimes if you sign up for MyFitnessPal, you can input your own nutrition facts for other people to use, and they're wrong. So they have, unfortunately, wrong nutrition information because not like the company's dumping it into the system, users are doing it. And if they have a typo or something, you know, you could, if they put 150 instead of 510, well, that's kind of a big difference. So no one's really monitoring that either. So the database that the Carbon app uses is a lot more tightly controlled, and they also have barcodes. So if you have like a little protein bar or something before or after gym or on the road, you take your your phone camera, what? I said that wrong, you know what I mean. And then you just scan the barcode and it pops up, and you just add it in. So it's really easy, it's intuitive. The first couple weeks take a little bit of time just getting used to it, especially if you've never done it before, but then it's easy. If you're eating similar foods, you can just copy it into the next day's meal, for example. Or you can make recipes. So I put a lot of recipes into mine as well, and then you can just reuse them and add them there too, so it's really accurate. So again, that's the reasoning behind why I recommend it. It's also it's inexpensive. It's $10 a month to coach you. You know, if you hired a nutrition coach, you're paying a lot more for that. So I'm trying to be mindful and give you all the tips and tricks. So again, you can continue to succeed, because again, the fat loss that you're probably looking for is not going to happen over this time period. It's going to be a lot longer duration. And even too, building in diet breaks is really important, because being on a continuous energy restricted diet can get old. And sometimes you need a break, or you want to celebrate or do something else. So going on diet breaks is really helpful too for our metabolism also. Exactly. So it's nice that you can build those diet breaks in with, you know, Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas time and New Year's. It's totally appropriate to eat those fun foods at the holidays, and you should enjoy, and you can build it all around and make it fit to be successful. And then the other thing about Carbon is that it also has you input your daily weights. So it's recommended to, you know, you wake up in the morning, you empty your bladder, you step on the scale, you put it in the weight, and that's how it tracks your progress.
So we should be weighing ourselves daily?
So I talk about this specifically in one class, because there's not a right or wrong answer to that.
Yep.
I recommend people weigh themselves every day, because the more data, the more feedback, and the better it is that you can tailor your intervention. But I don't recommend it if there's a history of eating disorders, a bad relationship with food, or if you're going to step on that scale and it's going to ruin your attitude the rest of the day. If you know, and I always say this, but again, I know it's easier said than done, but you know, you should not value your person, you know, who you are based upon your weight. So if you're able to step on the scale and be like, oh, it's a number, let me put it in here, use it as data, and move on from your day, great. Weighing yourself daily is very, very helpful. But if you're not able to do that, and it plays with your mind and puts you in a bad place and is not good for your spirit, don't do it. So those are my suggestions. So again, it's personal, it's whatever you think is best for you. But if you can take that personal side out of it, it can be very, very powerful and helpful. And you can see how crazy your weight can be, and then how it just comes down. You know, our fat loss trajectory is not like point A to point B in a straight line. It's like a curly Q. It's going to go down, it's going to go up, but you're going to see this gradual decline if you're sticking to it and consistent. So that's my spiel on weights. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
And then again, your energy and macronutrient goals, or your macronutrient recommendations are based upon your goals. So if you want to go on a diet break, you just hit in the app that I want to maintain my weight this week. Give me more calories. And it takes care of it for you. So you can go on that diet break and not worry about it. Or like, hey, I'm feeling really good. I want to really be, you know, sticking to this week. Let's go into my deficit. And then your calories are going to constantly change as your body changes as well. So this does the math for you. The math is very tedious, if I'm being honest. I love doing it, so it's okay. But maybe for a non-nutrition professional, it's a lot of work to do on your own. And then have an app just do it for you is really helpful. There's also weekly check-ins. So every week you can pick the day you want, you update your weight, you just say if you've been compliant to your goals, it does math, and it says, oh wow, you lost the perfect amount of weight, good job, keep going. Or, geez, you lost too much weight this week, we need to add more in. Or, hey, things didn't work out this week, let's try again, here's your goals. So it's really nice that, again, it keeps you accountable in that weekly check-in and uses, again, your weight. I get a lot of questions about tracking physical activity. So I strongly discourage anyone from tracking their physical activity calories. As humans, we have flaws and we make mistakes. And one of those that we consistently do in nutrition is we overestimate how many calories we burn and we underestimate how many we eat. You know, when you're in CrossFit, you're like, oh my God, I'm sweating, my muscles hurt, you know, I'm working so hard. You really don't burn that much. And a lot of these trackers very much overestimate that. So you should not eat whatever your little gadget tells you to, because energy expenditure is a lot more complex than energy intake.
So do you know how many calories we burn during a workout or CrossFit,
It depends on a lot of variables. It depends on your age, your effort, and anything. I mean, obviously we have some goals, like if you're on the air bike, 10 calories. Well, that's what the bike tells you. Does that mean you physically burn 10 calories? Who knows? They have equations in there, but they're not very unique, and they're not very helpful, and they usually overestimate. Or they're based upon this imaginary 150-pound person who I don't know where they exist, but apparently they speak for everyone in their energy expenditure. So obviously calories on the rower and the air bike when you're doing a workout, work to those calories, but that doesn't mean that that's the same for you, what you're burning. It's just feedback on the bike there. So again, it's better to monitor your weight and track your food than try to eat and make up for those energy calories or not. If you don't work out, like I didn't work out today, I'm not eating less. It's consistency that matters. So if you eat consistently, monitor your weight, the app and all that data will give you feedback. Again, they always overestimate. And even if you're at Planet Fitness on the treadmill, and it's like, oh, I burned 583 calories. Probably not. You do, and again, sometimes in CrossFit, a lot, we're working hard during the movement or in the WOD or the AMRAP or whatever we have, but we also stand around a lot and we do stretching. How much is really burning? And it's not per se the physical activity, but it's the gain of lean body mass that's going to help us over the long term. So exercise, again, if you're working hard and maybe you're actually only burning 195 calories in an hour-long CrossFit class, guess how long it would take you to eat 195 calories worth of a donut? 3 minutes? I don't know. So energy in is a lot easier than that energy out. It seems unfair, and it is. But that's why we don't recommend doing it, because it's not really helpful. So monitor your weights. Be consistent. Don't eat up your extra calorie things, because it's never going to work out. So does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I know some apps do that. I don't like it. Yeah. There's another app I like it for diabetics. It's called Control My Weight. They let you reduce your calories burned. It's not good. If you're going to use carbon, or even again, if you want to stick to MyFitnessPal, for example, and eat up to those goals that I provided for you based upon your results, the best thing to do is plan ahead. So when I use my app, it's like, okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Or what do I have in the house? What are my leftovers? I build my meal plan from there. And that way it's like, oh, this is what I'm eating tomorrow, kind of pack my lunch or whatever. Obviously, if I don't eat it, there's a delete button. So, whatever, you can adjust and modify as you go. But at least you have a guide and a structure and how to build those meals as well. I always say to start with protein. So if you're planning your next day's meal, for some people, protein is really hard to achieve. For some people, protein is a piece of cake and they might be eating a little bit too much. So usually we fall at one end of the spectrum, so you'll probably figure out where you are. But if you start with protein, after that, and then build the rest of your day around it. So it's like, okay, for breakfast, what's a protein source? Okay, I like eggs for breakfast. Let's add eggs. Okay, for lunch, I have leftover tuna salad. Let's put my tuna salad in here. All right, for dinner, we were going to have steak on the grill. Let's put my steak in there. And then build the rest of your foods from there. That way you have that foundation, and then just, I'm going to have fruit here, or salad, or this grain, or this starch, or these beans, or this salad that I need. Yes.
All right, so CrossFit starts at 10:45, and I don't know whether to eat before.
So you must have ESPN, but I am actually addressing this next week in our check-in email on Monday.
Okay.
So I'm going to give specific guidelines about snacking and timing, because that's huge. That's a very excellent question, and I will definitely address that specifically. So you bring up a great point. Yeah. So general order of priority. So for our goal to lose weight, What gets measured gets managed. Tracking is going to help you be the most successful. Your first priority is calories. If you don't meet your protein goals, you don't meet your carb goals, you don't meet your fat goals, who cares? Stick with that calorie. That's your first order of priority. Quantity matters the most. Second order of priority is protein. So once you hit your calories, if you can get in that range and be consistent for weeks, and you're working on hitting those protein goals, focus on protein next. Carbs and fat, again, at the end of the day, don't really matter. It's whatever you chose to eat to get there. Does that make sense? So that's order of operations. Get the calories, quantity matters. Get the protein as your second goal. And again, carbs and fat, however that works out for the food you're choosing, that would be what to hit next. So again, we kind of have the way we're building the meal plans, what kind of foods to do. And again, I don't provide food lists because it's not, we all eat differently, and I'm not going to tell you not eat this or do this. Again, this is sustainable. You can put cookies in Carb app, and that's totally fine. Or if, when I'm working with clients, you're like, but I love hot cheese, every Saturday. Go for it. Find your serving size, get your flavor, put it in the app, and build the rest of your day around it. Enjoy your ice cream. We need to enjoy life. So always, again, promoting sustainability, what's realistic for you, how can you remain accountable. I know sugar is like equivalent of the devil, but I could talk, for too long about that as well. But food is not good. It's not bad. Some food has more energy. Some food has less energy. Some food has more nutrients. Some food has less. I had an angry conversation with myself over the weekend because I belong to Thrive Market. Does anyone know what that is? It's like an online food ordering company. They just deliver it to your door. I'm kind of lazy, but one of the products they were recommending was a company called Lesser Evil. Like, who thought of that? I was like, oh my God, like, you're gonna call food evil? You're going to call things that give us energy and sustain life to be evil? I was so mad. I was like, I don't know who's on this marketing team, but they need to be fired. And I can't believe that this food product exists. So part of what I'll talk about too in the next couple of weeks is I want you to buy food. I don't want you to buy marketing. And I don't want your value and your worth to be like, oh, I'm a good person because I ate a good food. That's not it. Food is food is food. It doesn't, again, determine your value or your worth. You need food to live, to sustain your life. Obviously, there are higher quality foods to consume, but it's an inanimate object.
It's a totally different paradigm that you're talking about, because I'm thinking one of my goals should be to reduce, not to eliminate, but to reduce, the sugars and the starches. But that sounds like to me like not even a goal that I need to have.
So your goal is fat loss.
Well,
how do you lose fat? You reduce energy. If you're reducing your energy, your choices for those higher starch foods and higher sugar foods are inherently less.
So is there a difference between fat loss and weight loss? I mean, should my goal be a fat loss, not a weight loss?
So, yes. So anytime anyone loses weight, it's not just pure like fat just like melting into like the universe. You also lose lean body mass. So any type of weight loss thing, that's why we have this food and fitness component. So when you exercise, you help maintain your lean body mass. But when you're in this calorie deficit, you're naturally going to lose weight, and you're going to lose, by doing resistance training, less lean body mass. Any weight loss diet anyone has ever gone on in the beginning of time, you lose both. You lose lean body mass and fat mass, but the proportion of which is different. And that's why getting adequate protein matters with the resistance training program to lose fat. And if I lost 5 pounds, but I lost 5 pounds of lean body mass and my body fat stayed the same, is that really what I want for an outcome? Probably not, right? We want our lean body mass because just like our bone integrity declines as we age, our lean body mass integrity also declines with age. But the more lean body mass we can maintain, that protects us against chronic disease. That helps give us our independence. So as we age, age is not like this terrible death sentence where you're crippled or in a wheelchair. I mean, that's my life in the hospital. That's what I see every day. But it also motivates me that that doesn't have to be my end game. You know, I don't want to lose my independence. And the way that I'm not going to lose my independence is I keep exercising and maintain my lean body mass.
Yeah, I don't want to be a burden to my children either, so.
So and that's, you know, what I'm offering to you, you know, by what I'm explaining. And you said you missed last week, right?
Yeah.
So I talked about the different nutrients and why we need them in our body. And I know carbohydrates are vilified right now. Keto is hot. Intermittent fasting is hot. Fat is sexy, you know. But when we talk about physiology and what our body genuinely needs, it's just a better energy range, a better calorie range. And in terms of nutrition, quantity does trump quality first. So, there's lots of people, lots of talking heads out there, and that's why I'm so passionate to give you this information, because again, I don't want you to buy marketing. I don't want you to buy gimmicks. I want you to do something realistic and sustainable. And honestly, if I thought that I could never eat a cookie the rest of my life, that's sad. So again, I want you to enjoy food, but how can we do the best version of that? Because what I see a lot is like, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have this, I'm good. I binge, I purge, I eat a whole sleeve of, you know, Chips Ahoy, I'm a bad person. And this cycle happens. We yo-yo diet, we weight cycle, and we are miserable. I don't want that for you. So I want to provide you with this information so you can make these good choices and enjoy all things of life, you know? So, well, of course, I'm talking too much anyway. And I'll try to get into that. And I know I was going to answer some of your questions about your individual nutrition prescription. And since there's just 3 of you tonight, then we will build more of my attention. So if you want to ask me more personalized questions, I'm happy to do that. And then I'm going to have Sydney pick the winner. So the pressure is on here tonight. So you can pick one of these 3 ladies to win whatever yellow Trish.
Me? Really? Oh.
Guess what you won?
Huh?
A prize of unspeakable value. You have a snack on the go container.
Oh, wow.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your excellent questions tonight. So that's kind of all that I planned to talk about and review. Again, you had great questions. I know a lot of what I'm saying is probably challenging you. I'll hang out, I'll linger. If you have more questions that I can answer, and I do have all of you, I know I emailed them, but I printed out your nutrition prescriptions as well, so I can give them to you too.
So if we have questions about, you know, we should probably have our, you have a copy of our.
I do, yes. So I don't always leave the house with everything that I need to have, and I recognize that others too are probably